Hello students, welcome back to Prepon. These days we are discussing certain key phrases and terms in Indian polity. We have discussed what is a constitution. We also have discussed what is a written constitution and what is an unwritten constitution. We told you that written constitution ultimately leads to the supremacy of the constitution. In a written constitution system, it is the constitution that is supreme, whereas in the unwritten system, it is parliament that is supreme. Then we discussed the concept of separation of powers given by Montesquieu in 18th century in France. And I told you that separation of power simply does not mean this is functional distribution of power. It is much more than that. I told you it means functional autonomy. It also means functional collaboration. It also means checks and balances. The governance system is so complex that the functions overlap. So all the three organs, executive, legislature and judiciary, cannot work in watertight compartment. They have to collaborate to bring good governance. So it is not, you can say, a mutually exclusive systems of executive, legislature and judiciary. And at the same time, there is inbuilt mechanisms whereby they can check each other, one another, so that none can become supreme, because constitution is the supreme. So they can eliminate or rule out the possibility of arbitrariness and discretion. Any government which has got much more discretion will definitely lead to what? Abuse of power. And abuse of power will always lead to what? Endangerment of what? The rights and liberties of people. Okay. So in another lecture we discussed the concept of rule of law, and we discussed the real implication of the word law in the phrase rule of law. I told you the word law as used in the phrase rule of law means the law should be what? Simply worded. It should be intelligible even to the meanest of the person. His educational achievements, his economic achievements should not come in way of his comprehension of the implication of the law, so made for his benefit. It should be intelligible to him. It further means it should not be so complicated in meaning that it is subject to the manipulation of its handlers. It should not be misused, misinterpreted. It should be very simply worded, should be straightforward in its benefit to the people. At the same time, I told you it should be accessible to the people. People should have full reach to the benefits of the law. Whether he is educated or not, whether his means permit or not, law should always be available for the service of the meanest of the person. That is, accessibility should be there. At the same time, law should contain in itself the elements of justice and equity. Any laws framed by the parliament, if it is devoid of all these things, then the law will not lead to rule of law. Law should always aim at establishing the concept of what? Justice and equity. So this far we have discussed. Today let us discuss another important concept called democracy, which is a very commonly known word, democracy. So in simple terms, we have been taught so far that demo is a people, cracy is the government. That is, democracy is a government. Democracy is a government by the representatives of the people. If the unit is small, there can be direct democracy. Everybody can participate, and with majority or consensus, they can bring out the decision. But if the unit is big, we go for what? Indirect democracy. In that situation, we elect our representatives. So democracy is a government by representatives of the people is democracy. Abraham Lincoln gave his own definition. American President Abraham Lincoln, he said, democracy is a government of the people, by the people and for the people. When he said so, what did he mean? What are the implications of these three phrases? Let us try to find out. When he says democracy is a government of the people, he means what? He means that there is a role of people in the composition of the government. That is, government is elected by the people. That is, government is chosen by the people. People amongst themselves have chosen some people to represent them as government. So government is always a subset of the people. So there is an implicit role of people in the composition of the government, meaning thereby government is elected or chosen by the people, is the implication of the word of the people. Okay, people have chosen the government, and those who have been chosen have become the government, and they have been given all the powers and responsibilities to fulfill the constitutional functions. But then there comes the phrase called what? By the people. When we use the phrase by the people, we simply means even though they have been put in power, it does not mean that they are not accountable to people, and it also does not mean that they are not controlled by the people. People control them from time to time. People raise their demands. People want them to fulfill their needs. So with the help of the rights and liberties which are given to the people by the constitution, by asserting them from time to time, the people keep the government on in check, that you should fulfill all our demands and needs. That is, government is always accountable to the people. In democracy, government has to be accountable to people. This means controlled by the people. That is, if the government is not doing the welfare function for the people will demand an answer for them. If the government is not able to give them right kind of answer, or government is not able to fulfill their responsibility, or government is not responsive to the people, that is, government should be responsible as well as responsive. If it is not so, they will be unseated either immediately through a no confidence motion, or definitely after 5 years in the form of an election. So it means even though you are elected, you are always under the control of the people. If this element is missing, only then also democracy will not be established. And obviously the purpose of the government is to do welfare of the people. These were the implications of the three phrases used by Abraham Lincoln in an address. So of the people, by the people, and for the people. Otherwise, we can also say democracy is a government by effective participation of the collective will of the electorate. People as a whole vote, and they show their collective wisdom in choosing a bunch of people to become their government. And those who are representing them are representing their needs and demands effectively. Their needs and demand, or their, you can say, their grievances are being redressed from time to time. This is called effective representation. We can also understand it in this particular way. There are rulers, that is, those who have been chosen by the people. There are ruled, and there are representatives of the ruled. So there is a relation between rulers and the ruled through their representatives. The ruled elect representatives, and the representatives on the behalf of the ruled elect rulers. For what? To do the welfare function for the people, meaning thereby those who are rulers, who have been entrusted with the task of doing good governance, for their functions, for their responsibilities, they have to be accountable to the people through their representatives. So rulers are accountable to the representatives of the people, and the representatives of the people are accountable to the ruled. If both of these elements, that is accountability and election, if both of these elements are missing in any system, then there is no establishment of democracy. Accountability plays a very, very important role in the democratic system. So accountability and elections together constitute the essence of a democratic system. Is another, you can say, explanation of a system of democracy. If I elaborate further, I can tell you there are two types of democracy. There are two aspects of democracy. One is procedural, another is substantive. One is procedural, another is substantive. When we say procedural, it simply means number game. That is, government by majority. 100 people have voted, and a particular group of people have got what, 50%, 51% of vote out of 100. It means they have democratic right of forming the government, because 51%, that is majority, have voted for them. This is only one and very simple aspect of democracy called procedural aspect. You have fulfilled the number system. Okay. But the most important aspect of democracy, or the real essence of democracy, lies in what? The substantive aspect. If I put it simply, I will say the government chosen by 51%, that is the government chosen by 51%, has to take care of even those 49% who have not voted for them. Meaning thereby 49% people have not voted for this government, still government cannot ignore or neglect the interest of those who have not voted for them. Once you are in power, once you are in the seat of governance, you have to work for 100% of them. Even though 51% people have voted for you, you have to work for 100%. So when we say substantive aspect, it simply means government of 51% has to work for 49% as well. If I further rephrase it, I will say in a democratic system, people choose the government, not, or you can say government cannot choose the people. Have you got this? This is the essence of substantive democracy. It is what? Procedural aspect. People choose the government, obviously by using election method, people choose the government, but once those who are chosen, they become the government, they cannot choose whom to give the benefit of governance, whom not to give the benefits of governance. They have to be accountable to or responsible or responsive to everybody. Hence, in a democratic system, government cannot choose the people. Even though government is chosen by the people, government cannot differentiate or discriminate among the people, even though 49% people have not voted for you. If this aspect of governance is being met, only then the true essence of democracy can come forward. Otherwise, it will only remain what? Procedural democracy. Got my point? So people choose the government, government cannot choose the people. This is the essence of democracy. So when we talk of the term democracy, we always mean its substantive aspect, not procedural aspect. Procedural aspect is one particular aspect. When the substantive aspect is established, only then a true democratic system can be established in any country. About democracy, there is a very, very important, or you can say very famous quotation. Man's capacity for justice makes democracy possible. His inclination for injustice makes democracy necessary. Got my point? Man by nature, if justice oriented, then there can be democracy. Democracy definitely will be there if man by nature is justice oriented. If man is, you can say, sensitive enough for justice for all, obviously he will choose the path of democracy. But at the same time, the possibility of democracy increases if those who are there, they have sensitivity towards justice for all. Okay, but if man is inclined towards injustice, abuse of power, then also it is democracy which can become the best savior to get rid of injustice system. The best savior is democratic system. So if you want to get rid of injustice system, then also you have to choose democracy, either this way or that way. Democracy is the best system of government. So man's capacity for justice makes democracy possible, but his inclination towards injustice makes democracy necessity. It is only a democratic system which can get rid of the inclination towards injustice for people. So this is all about democracy. I hope you have understood what I intend to tell you about democratic system. So thanks a lot for watching this video. Thank you.